one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 33. Pragayataha Swabiryani Pragayataha Swabiryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Ahuta Iva Me Sighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi Darsanam Yati Chetasi Pragayataha Sobiryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Sighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi. Pragayataha Sobiryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Sighram Srinivas Prabhu, is the audio coming or not coming? Why the audio is not coming? Can you hear me? Pragayataha Sobiryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Sighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi. Pragayataha Swabiryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Sighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi.
Pragayataha Swabiryani Tirthapada Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Shighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi.
Pragayata Swaviryani Tirthapadaha Priyashravaha Ahuta Iva Me Shighram Darshanam Yati Chetasi.
Pragayata Swaviryani
Pragayataha Swabiryani
Tirthapada Priyashravaha
Tirthapada Priyashravaha
Ahuta Iva Me Shighram
Ahuta Iva Me Sighram
Darshanam Yati Chetasi.
Darsanam Yati Chetasi.
Pragayataha Swaviryani
Pragayataha Swabiryani
Tirthapada Priyashravaha
Tirthapada Priyashravaha
Ahuta Iva Me Shighram
Ahuta Iva Me Sighram
Darshanam Yati Chetasi.
Darsanam Yati Chetasi.
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
प्रगायत स्ववीर्याणि
तीर्थपादः प्रियश्रवाः
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवः
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रम्
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
प्रगायत स्ववीर्याणि
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवः
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवः
अहुत इव मे शीघ्रम्
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
प्रागयतः स्ववीर्याणि
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
तीर्थपादप्रियस्वरः
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवः
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रम्
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं
दर्शनं यति चेतसि
दर्शनं याति चेतसि प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवाः आहुता इव शीघ्रम्
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि
तीर्थपादः प्रियश्रवाः
तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवः
आहुता इव मे शीघ्रम्
आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं
दर्शनं याति चेतसि
दर्शनं याति चेतसि Synonyms pragayatah, thus singing. Swaviryani, own activities. Tirthapadaha, the Lord whose lotus feet are the source of all virtues or holiness. Priyashravaha, pleasing to hear. Ahutaha, called for. Iva, just like. Me, to me. Sighram, very soon. Darshanam, sight. Yati, appears. Chetasi, on the seat of the heart. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart, as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant His holy activities. Translation with repetition. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart, as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant His holy activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The absolute personality of Godhead is not different from His transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting, and remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotees by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. It is a natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. That is a natural instinct. And the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to this psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the Absolute Lord. The only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all and absolute in all His affairs. If therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotee's chanting of His glories, there is nothing astonishing. Since he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. Srila Narada chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications are identical with the Lord. Narada Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. Thus hence the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are coming to the conclusion of this chapter, conversation between Narada and Vyasa. And these are some of those final verses which are extremely powerful, and they kind of sum up the entire conclusion or the summary of so far what has happened. In the previous verse, we had this wonderful verse, which I wanted all of you to remember. Devadattam imam veenam swara brahma vibhushitam murchaitva harikatham gayamanas charamyaham. So we saw how wonderful that activity Narada Muni does, having gotten a veena which is transcendental, which is given by the Lord. Devadattam imam veenam swara brahma vibhushitam. What kind of veena? Swara brahma. The transcendental sounds is manifesting from that. Swara brahma, it is decorated with that. Vibhushitam. Murchaitva harikatham. And he is decorating that veena with harikatham, by vibrating harikatham. And gayamanas charamyaham. And he is going all over the place, singing these glories of the Lord constantly. Gayamanas is singing constantly. Charamyaham. So one may question, why does he do this? What is the importance of doing that? And this verse today, it talks further. What is the benefit or why he is doing this? Pragayatah svaviryani tirthapada priyashrava ahuta iva me sighram darshanam yati chetasi. Pragayatah svaviryani. In English, there is a phrase which says, as soon as I saw him, he disappeared. As soon as the mother appeared on the scene with a stick, the child, got scared or something. So here, Narada Muni is telling, Pragayatah sobiryani, tirtha padaha priyashravaha. As soon as I sing these glories, which glories? Soviryani, Lord's glories, his glories, Swaviryani. Who is that Lord? Tirtha Padaha. The entire Tirtha, the entire pilgrimage is actually lying on the lotus feet of the Lord. Tirtha Padaha. Pragayataha Swaviryani Tirtha Padaha Priyashravaha. Two words are used. Tirtha Padaha, Priyashravaha. Tirtha Padaha is actually the Lord whose lotus feet are the source of all virtues or holiness. And Priyashrava, it is very pleasing, very, very pleasing. The activities of the Lord. Actually, in this material world, there is nothing even which can come close to the nectarian, sweet, wonderful pastimes of the Lord. It's very powerful. Pragayataha swabiryani tirthapadaha priyashravaha ahuta iva me sighram. The moment, as soon as I glorify ahuta, ahuta is as if called for. What is the translation Prabhupada says? Called for, as if. You have not really, you didn't mean it. Suppose Sai is there somewhere and I say, I'm saying something, and then in the middle of my conversation, the word Sai comes. So you feel, as if Prabhu is calling, and you are appearing there. Pragayataha swabiryani tirthapadaha priyashravaha ahuta ivame sigram. And how he hears, there are some people who hear deliberately, they know that they are being called, but they don't appear. But there are people who are eager. The Lord, the moment he hears, he wants to come. Ahuta ivame shigram, without delay, immediately he wants to come. Darshanam yati chetasi, as if he wants to give his darshanam. Darshanam yati chetasi, on the seat of the heart. He manifests in the seat of the heart. So when Narada Muni is glorifying with this veena, when he is going on and is constantly glorifying, and when he is singing Pragayataha Swabiryani, the Lord's wonderful pastimes, the Lord whose Tirtha Padaha and Priyashrava, and these pastimes are wonderful, very pleasing to hear. Ahuta ivame shigram, the Lord manifests in the heart as if called for. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear. Priyashravaha, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear. Whose glories is Swaviryani. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, Priyashrava, at once appears, Sigram, on the seat of my heart, Chetasi, as if called for, Ahuta, as soon as I begin to chant, Pragayataha, his holy name and activities. This is the verse that we have today. Now, as I said, we are coming to an end of a series of verses which are so beautifully and wonderfully composed and so wonderfully described the transformation a person goes through in his life. Bhagavatam is filled with such examples. Narada Muni is one such, where a person who had materialistic consciousness, soaked in material activities, unaware of spiritual thing, becomes a transcendental spaceman. And he is singing the songs of Lord, and the Lord is manifesting in his heart. It is the same Narada Muni who, despite his attempt to see the Lord second time, could not get darshan of the Lord. And the Lord told, in this life you still have some impurities and you are not qualified to see the Lord. But the same Narada Muni, when he gets this transcendental body, he is constantly singing with this Swara Brahma Vibhushitam, Devadattam Imam Veenam, and he is going Murchaitva Harikatham, Gayamanas Charamyaham. He is going all over the place and singing the glories of the Lord, and the Lord is constantly manifesting in his heart. Prabhupada has used a term in the purport called transcendental television, right? So, spiritual television, in the heart of spiritual television. We will see all of this, and we will try to understand what this verse is trying to say. Now, what we will do is, if you remember or recollect what has happened so far, because as I said, this is coming to an end, and this is the conclusion Narada Muni is giving. And based on the conclusion that Narada Muni is giving, Vedavyas is going to do something. So where the problem arrived, or how did it all start? After the 6 questions were asked by the sages of Naimisharanya, they further asked, they wanted to know, how did this Bhagavatam come about? Why did Vyasadeva compose this? Why did Vyasadeva write this Bhagavatam? What was the need for Vyasadeva to write Bhagavatam? So if you go back on the pages of Bhagavatam, what we have already read, and that is how Sutta Goswami begins to narrate why Bhagavatam was, how did it come about, what was necessity for Vedavyas to write, then you will get this verse 1.4.26. Evam prabhritasya sada bhutanam shreyasi dvijaha sarvatmakenapi yada natushyad hridayam tataha. So he is telling, O twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied. This is Sutta Goswami addressing the sages of Naimisharanya. O twice born Brahmanas, all the sages that you have assembled here, actually still his mind was not satisfied. Imagine Vedavyas has written volumes and volumes of Vedic literatures. So many Vedic literatures he has written. After having written all these Vedic literatures, he's seated in his ashram and he's not feeling satisfaction. He's meditating and he's feeling something is missing in my life. What is it that is missing? And that is being pointed out here by Sutta Goswami. He's telling actually this kind of dissatisfaction, despondency was felt in the heart of Vedavyas. So twice born Brahmana, still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of all people. Sarvatmakena api yada bhutanam shreyasi dvija. He was working, his intention of writing Vedic literatures was not self-glorification. He didn't want to write it so that people in later point in time would glorify, oh, Vedavyas has done so wonderful thing. He was doing it for the welfare of all people. Yet he was not feeling satisfied. And then further in Bhagavatam it is mentioned, actually he himself did a reflection or introspection, and he said, Kimba Bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupitaha priyaha paramahamsanam tayeva hi achyuta priyaha. Maybe because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and the infallible Lord. So he himself is thinking, maybe I didn't glorify the Lord properly. Kimba Bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupitaha priya paramahamsanam. This is priya, this is dear to all the paramahamsa. Tayeva hi achyuta priya. I didn't specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and the infallible Lord. Probably that is the reason I'm not satisfied. And when he is going through this kind of mental turmoil, he is thinking about this, all of a sudden who appeared? Narada or Vishnu? Sure. Okay. Yes, his spiritual master Narada Muni appeared. And Narada Muni appeared, and what did he say? He said, hey Vedavyas, what's up? What's going on? None of those things. Actually, Vedavyas, Narada Muni, when he started to talk to Vedavyas, he says, Parasarya Mahabhaga Bhavatah Kachidatmana Paritushyati Sarira Atma Manasa Evava. Addressing Vyasadev, the son of Parasara, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? Parasara, oh great son of Parasara Muni, Parasarya Mahabhaga, you are Mahabhaga, you are greatly fortunate. Bhavatah Kachidatmana Paritushyati Sarira Atma Manasa Evava. Are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as the objects of self-realization? It's a very sarcastic way of telling that, Narad Muni, you are the son of great Parasar Muni, you are a great fortunate soul. Are you not satisfied? You've identified Atma with Sarira and Manasa. So then Narad Muni goes on and he talks about this verse which comes in the 8th verse, 1.5.8. Sri Narada Uvacha Bhavatanu Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenaivaso Natushyeta Manye Tad Darshanam Khilam. The word Narada Muni uses is called Khilam. This is inferior. You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. Imagine you have done all your work, everything, and somebody comes and tells you these are all worthless. You've just wasted time. Simply doing this thing will not work. Whatever you have done, I disapprove all this. Years and years of writing by Vedavyas. And Narada Muni is telling, Bhavatanu prayam yasho bhagavato malam yenaivaso natushyeta manyeta darshanam khilam. You have actually not broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. You have not done. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. Now what Vedavyas would do? Then Narada Muni actually goes on to say, actually the real problem lies in this material world is, first of all, people are all busy in their own sense gratification, their materialistic topics, research, and they are just absorbed, engrossed. They are enchanted by the material energy, and they are very busy. At the beginning of Bhagavatam, when Sukadev Goswami begins to speak, he says, Nrinam santi sahasrashaha apasyatam atma tattvam griheshu grihamedina. What is the first line? 2.1 such. Nirnam santi sahasrasha apasyatam atmatattvam griheshu grihamedinam. He says people who are blind to self-realization, they've got thousands and thousands of topics. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasrasha. Shrotavyadini. We have identified so many topics which are of interest to us. Yesterday's Bhagavad Gita verse, there was a word which was used in the translation. It's called the state of being. In whatever state we are in our material world, in our material life, we have identified these are the things I need to do. These are things which are important for me. And being a student, this is important for me. Being a householder, this is important to me. Or being a more matured person, I have certain things to do. These are all state of being. So, Shrotavyadini Rajendra, we have identified so many such things. Nirnam Santi Sahasrasha. Like those people who are studying in India. Somebody tell them that no, it's not good. You will not get a lot of opportunities. You should go and do a master's in the US. So you come here to do the master's. Then after doing the master's, you realize master's is not good. Some people who are doing master's, they are only saying you should do a PhD. But PhD is also not easy. But imagine you get into a PhD. So you join a PhD. PhD very difficult. Not everybody gets despite trying. But you get into a PhD. Then after PhD, they say this PhD is not everything. You have to join a job. You join a job, then there also you feel you've just started, there are so many people ahead of you, then you feel that this is also not enough, I should do something. Then other people who are there, they'll tell, get married. That is the solution. But when get married, you definitely realize that this world is full of problems. You don't have to ask anybody. But anyway, life goes on, life continues. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nam Santi Sahasrasha. Because we are all trying after things which are relative truth. These are not absolute. Everything in our life, like I am a man, is a relative thing, because after some time I'll die, my body is gone, nobody remembers who I am. It's all over. But whereas the Supreme Lord is absolute. This is the difference. In the beginning of Bhagavatam, when we see the first verse where it is mentioned, Om Namo Bhagavate Janmadasya yatah anvayad itaratas-chartheshu abhigya swarad tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye mushyanti yat suraya. In the last line of that verse, tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye mushyanti yat suraya tejo vari mridam yatha vinimaya atro trishargam risha dhamna svena sada nirastakvakam satyam param dhimai. That satyam, the next adjective that is used is param. Param is absolute truth. The Lord is present in past, is present now, is present in future, and the Lord and His name, form and activities are non-different. This is the big difference. So when we understand this, actually we feel somehow inhibited in our life to glorify the Lord. We feel, what will people say, what will happen to me, what is the necessity for me to glorify. But the moment we do that uninhibitedly, without fear, unadulterately, just glorification of the Lord, it is satisfying to the heart, purifying to the heart, and it does the well-being to everybody. How? Why? Because if we don't do that, very interestingly, if we don't do that, then what happens? In Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Nayad bhajas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragranita karhichet tadvayasam tirtham usanti manasaha nayatra hamsa niramanti usikshayaha. Nayad bhajas chitra padam harer yasho. If you don't glorify the Lord properly, then that becomes a place of pilgrimage. For crows, that has to come with a pause. Okay. Yes, it will become a place of pilgrimage, but a place of pilgrimage where crows will only assemble. Ayad bachas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karichit. Where does the crow assemble? Where do the crows assemble? They go and find the filthy things, filthy substance. So in life also, if a place or if a society or if an organization or if a country, if a nation, if a family, they don't talk about the glories of the Lord, or they don't spend time in hearing and glorifying the Lord, then that place becomes a place of pilgrimage for crows. Thus, the words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly person to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. So then somebody may say that, but I don't know about the glories of the Lord. I'm coming, but nothing retains. I can't do it. Doesn't matter. Because in the next verse, it is mentioned, Tadbhag visargo janatagh viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat shrunvanti gayanti grunanti sadhava. Tadbhag visargo janatagh viplavo. This is wonderful words. Actually, I don't know about Krishna, I have only little knowledge, doesn't matter. I can't even speak properly about Krishna, I should do it. Because even if it is abadhavatyapi, even if it is improperly composed, even if I don't know fully how to speak, if I speak, it can bring a revolution in people's sinful lives. Tadbhaga visargo janatagha viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat Shrunvanti, Gayanti, Grunanti Sadhava. The sadhus constantly sing and glorify the Lord, the names of the Lord. Very wonderfully, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, actually, what if your house is on fire? If your house is on fire and you are in a foreign country where you don't know even the language, maybe in Guatemala or somewhere where people speak only Spanish or something like that, and you have to go and tell them that there's a fire, there is an emergency. Will you hesitate just because you don't know the language, or will you go out and try? You will try. Similarly, this material world is samsara dava nalalidha loka pranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam. So this is a place of blazing fire of material existence, and we need to speak, we need to tell, and we have to help each other. Even if I know very improperly, it is inadequate, still I should not hesitate, I should go and tell, because this can deliver. Tadbhaga visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat shrunvanti gayanti grunanti sadhava. If you know, there is a very beautiful song by one of the Vaishnava acharyas. He sings, this song is, I don't know who's the author. Author is anonymous, it seems. But the lyric starts with Hari Hai Dayala Mora Jai Radha Natha. Have you heard of this song? It's a very beautiful song. Hari Hai Dayala Mora Jaya Radha Natha Baro Baro Ei Baro Loha Nija Satha. Actually, the Lord is seated in our heart forever. He's the best well-wishing friend. He's looking. My God, how many times, how many lifetimes, how much time we have spent wasting and suffering in this material world. Look towards me, come towards me. I will help you. I will take you out of this blazing fire of material existence. And we have forgotten. Bahu yoni brahminatha loinu sarana Nija gune kripa kora adhamatarana. Bahu yoni brahminatha. We have gone through so many different species of life. Bahu yoni brahminatha loinu sarana. Now I am taking shelter. Nija gune kripa koro. You bestow mercy upon me by your causeless mercy. I don't deserve. Nija gune kripa koro adhamatarana. I am actually adhama, fallen, wretched soul. Tarana, deliver me. Actually, if we do that, if we understand that we have a relationship with that eternal Lord and we glorify Him, we take His shelter, then the whole atmosphere changes. The first thing that happens is we get satisfaction. Very interestingly, if you go a little fast forward, and then we will come back to this verse. If you go a little fast forward, when Narada Muni told this particular thing, that you glorify the Lord, and that is what Vedavyas is going to do, but he didn't immediately start writing Bhagavatam. It's not like Narada Muni left and then Vedavyas started writing Bhagavatam. He sat on meditation. And when he sat on meditation, we will see that in little future verses, but I'm just giving you a glimpse of what happened when Narada Muni left and Vedavyas was sitting in meditation. What he saw, it is there in the verse 1.7.5, 1.7.4, sorry. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranhite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam chatadapashrayam. So, bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranhite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam chatadapashrayam. When Vedavyas sat on meditation, after hearing, because you need to assimilate things. We hear, we sing song for Prabhupada. What is that? Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chittite Koriya Aikya Arna Koriho Mane Asa. We sing that. Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya. I have to take that very seriously. Chittite Koriya Aikya Arna Koriho Mane Asa. We sing Jai Prabhupada, and we go back. We don't think how much of that we are applying. Really, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya, if I have to take it seriously, I have to meditate on that. I have to assimilate, I have to introspect, I have to reflect. Narada Muni, when he finished his whatever discourse or whatever he was talking to Vedavyas sat on meditation. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam chatadapasham. The vision of Vedavyas is something which we should carry in our mind. The other day we were hearing the lecture by Chanchalpati Prabhu where he was talking about the installation on the ISKCON's Foundation Day, 13th July. He was talking about a picture that we should remember. Do you remember which one he was telling? Okay, still listening, you could have gotten it. No. हरि गोपाल 2 बार रात को भी सुना, दिन में भी सुना. कौन सा पिक्चर प्रभु बोल रहे थे that you should carry it in your mind? Who has heard that? You also heard, no? You were there, no? The picture that Prabhu was telling, I mean, it's not like something very big, but these are things, what remains in your mind? There are some memories of our past life which remains. We don't remember every single incident, but something which is related to something which stirred our heart emotionally, charged us. Those memories always remain. Prabhu was talking about the struggle that Prabhupada went through before starting ISKCON and how ISKCON was founded. He was giving the example, he was telling a story to remember that when Prabhupada, morning 7 o'clock, has gone and rang the bell at Mukunda's house. Mukunda was Michael Grant. He had his wife. So basically Prabhupada didn't have a proper place to stay. And the place where he was staying, there were a lot of disturbances. There were some issues. So this guy, there's a American, black American, half black, half American. That guy and Paul, he and not Paul, what is his name? Carl became Karlapati. So Carl and Prabhupada, they are ringing the bell of Mukunda, Michael Grant, 7 o'clock. And this Mukunda has a night shift. He has finished, he's a musician. He sings in some hotel. And he does all this, singing and all. And then first he called Carl, saying that, well, Carl, can we come and see you now? So he said, right now, I'm finished my long night's work. And can we meet afterwards? He said, no, this is very important, cannot wait. And they both have come. So Carl and Prabhupada both are standing. And then, okay, give me some time. And by the time he has gotten up from his bed and washed his face, the bell has rang. And he opened and he saw that Prabhupada is there and Carl is there. And Prabhupada is carrying his suitcase. He has come to, stay in his house without telling that he's going to stay. Mike used to live with his girlfriend called Jan. She became Janaki Devidasi later on, but she was, at that time they were, in America, they were all in live-in relationships. So she also was sleeping and she got up, she has cut a fruit half and she's eating and she's offering, would you like to, Swami, nice to see you. The other day I saw you on the loft and very happy to see you. He's offering this thing to Prabhupada. Prabhupada is smiling, yes, thank you. Actually, Prabhupada first time saw, he thought it is his wife because he didn't know. So he is asked, is it your wife? And Prabhu explains very nicely when she said wife, when the kind of expression that she gave, Prabhupada's face completely became, oh my God, what did I ask? Like that kind of a thing. See, Prabhupada, 70-year-old, he's a sannyasi, very respected, very scholarly from Vrindavan and struggling in Bauri. And then they sat there and Mukunda was trying to explain how it is not a conducive place for Prabhupada to stay, because there are so many musicians who come there and they jam and they do some music practice. And then finally Prabhupada had to walk back. And Mukunda was looking from the window. Carl and Prabhupada are walking back. 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning. Prabhupada is carrying his big suitcase. Prabhu said, this is a memory. This is a memory which should stay in our mind. We should picture this. Imagine our founder Acharya going through so much of struggle to establish this. How many of us will do this at that age? Mukunda was seeing from the window. Prabhupada is walking back. And he's thinking that he was feeling guilty. He wanted to help, but his house is not in a position. He was not prepared to have Prabhupada at his house. And he was feeling sorry for that. And Prabhupada was walking back. He said, I'll find out. I have some resources. I'll look for a house and I'll find out. But Prabhupada says, picture this. Similarly, when we are reading Bhagavatam, when we are discussing this picture, we should always remember Vedavyas sat on meditation after Narada Muni gave this instruction. What did he see? He saw the Supreme Lord. Apasyat samyak pranihite male apasyat purusham purnam. Purnam purusham. He saw purnam purusham and mayam chatadapashrayam, and also saw Maya Devi. Both he saw in the meditation. Thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by thinking it in devotional service without any tinge of materialism, and thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. Apashrayam, Maya was under full control, and this picture was seen by Vedavyas. This always we should remember. Okay, so Narada Muni saw this, Vedavyas saw this. What else he saw? What he also realized was, Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartham tatkritam chabhipadyate. This verse is a very powerful verse. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam parope manute nartham yatkritam chabhipadyate. Actually, we are transcendental, but this Maya, we become subservient to it. Yaya sammohita, and we become completely bewildered. We think this material world is a beautiful place, I should stay here, I should remain here, and I go through. So when Maya becomes powerful, overpowering, we become subservient and we forget our constitutional position. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. So mind you, all this instruction he said that you should glorify, and then Vedavyas sat on meditation and he saw this beautiful form of Vishnu, and there is Maya which was under control. It's like a person who's sitting at a dog, a huge bulldog or something which is chained and tied, and it is sitting next to that, very docile, very nice when the master is there, something similar to that. But that Maya becomes powerful over us, Yaya sammohita jiva, and this external energy, due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reaction of material miseries. Then one may say, okay, we understood the problem. We understood the problem that a jiva who's transcendental becomes subservient to material nature. What is the solution? Little further it comes, anartha upasamam sakshad bhakti yogam prayojitaha. What is that verse? Anartha upasamam sakshad bhakti yogam adhokshaje lokasya jananto vidyams chakre satvata samhitam. See, you have to have a big picture understanding of what is going on. So what is the solution which Vedavyas thought? Anartha upasamam sakshad. All these miserable things that we are going through in this material world, which are called anarthas, which we don't want, which are inflicted on us, like birth, death, old age and disease. Anartha upasamam sakshad. They can be completely mitigated. Anartha upasamam sakshad bhakti yogam adhokshaje. If somebody engages in devotional service to adhokshaja, to the Lord. But lokasya ajananto vidvams. People do not know about this. Chakre Satvata Samhita. That is why one should write this Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam, the reason it was mentioned is people are unaware, ignorant, and Vedavyasa's purpose, he's getting clear about this. So, Lokasya Jananto Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhita. So, you understood the problem. He saw this Vishnu and Maya, and he saw that the jivas are getting entrapped or subservient to this Maya. And the solution he's telling, Lokasya Jananto Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhita. Take this Bhagavatam, which is non-different from the Lord, understand how to engage in devotional service, by that you will come out. But you may still say, I'm not completely sure about the benefits. Next verse he's telling. What is that? Yashyam Vaishruya Manayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsa Soka Moha Bhayapaha. Yashyam Vaishruya Manayam. When we hear from Bhagavatam, doesn't matter which verse, what you are reading. If you are paying attention, if it is submissive hearing, if it is a good oral reception, Yashyam Vaishruya Manayam Krishne Paramapurushe. Krishna, about Krishna. This Bhagavatam is all about him. It is not different. Krishna Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsam. You may try hard. There are some people who don't want to come to the temple or satsang because they feel scared that they will get transformed. They will become like us. Like there is, who's that? Somebody's brother who's come once or twice. He just wants to maintain some distance. Kya ban jaunga ke unke taraf. Actually, this is our natural state. I mean, if you take up to this process and wholeheartedly you follow, there are all contaminations inside us which prevents us to follow this properly. But if the contaminations are gone, anartha upasamam sakshat bhakti yogam adhokshaje lokasya jananto vidvams chakre satvata samhita. And then he's saying yasyam vaishruya manayam krishne paramapurushe bhaktir utpadyate pumsa soka moha bhayapa. You see the characteristic of a human being in this material world. They have soka, lamentation for the past. They're illusioned about the present. They don't know what is the right thing to do, what is wrong, always confused about that. Bhaya for the future. Soka, moha, bhaya, apaha. It will be completely gone from the heart. Now, all this is possible just by glorifying the Lord, just by hearing, just by giving an oral reception. The life gets transformed actually. I want to tell one very interesting purport, and I want all of you to pay attention to this. This is the conclusion of what we are doing. This purport was, there are multiple different places where Bhagavatam has given so many wonderful and profound, instructions. But as I said, some of the things should stay. Like, Vedavyas doing this meditation, and he is able to see Vishnu and Maya under its control. That picture should always stay with us. So why that picture should stay, I'll come to that. I want to talk about the time when, did you know which year Prabhupada left his physical body? Very good. Which day? Huh? 14th November 1977. Okay, now do you know which canto Prabhupada was translating when he quit his body? Which chapter? No. Prabhupada is translated till 14th chapter, till Brahma's prayers. Now I want to show one, it is there, no? So I'll show one verse. Let's see this verse. This is 10th canto, 13th chapter, 60th verse. All of you are reading Krishna book. And this particular purport which I'm trying to show is one of my favorite purports. It's a very beautiful purport. If you get this right, life is all set. So what is this purport? What is this verse? Let's see. So this is 10th canto, 13th chapter, 60th verse. You have to keep in mind that Prabhupada is bedridden, and this is probably maybe in October or November that he is translating this. Completely emancipated. The body is gone, frail, weak. He's only taking Charanamrit, and there is a dictaphone next to his mouth, and he's giving this translation to these verses. Let's see, for that matter, this that verse that we spoke, Tadbhaga Visargo Janataga Viplavo. Where did Prabhupada write this? In Vrindavan, because first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam was translated when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. But that time also he is saying, even if it is improperly composed, I myself, I'm a Bengali person, I don't understand the culture, I don't understand the language properly, but still, because I am talking from a bona fide parampara, from my Gurudev, from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is coming in a bona fide disciplic succession, any bona fide person who hears this, it will act. That is how a 70-year-old man coming from India with no contacts and just talking about Krishna. The moment we glorify Krishna, Krishna is, because Krishna is all attractive. He is Parama, he is absolute. It connects. People get connected to that. That is what happened. Even though, he is in Vrindavan, he is thinking about this. Like this. Now this verse Prabhupada is writing when he is in deathbed. He is in his final stage of his material Leela. So here this verse is very wonderful. Yatra naisarga durvairaha sahasan mrigadayaha mitrani iva ajitavasa druta rut taraskadikam. What does this mean? Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. Now, are you able to read that? Sai? No. Let me increase this. You need to read. Ten 1360, sorry. Can you read it now? Sai? So let's see what Prabhupada is saying. Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. Now he's talking about Vrindavan. This is actually the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma, this chapter. Let's hear the purport what Prabhupada has to say this, because I said this purport is one of very important purports that we should remember. The word vana means forest. We are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together, and when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification. But in Vrindavan, there is no sense gratification, for the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here and take a little milk." Thus envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name Vana or the forest, but in Vrindavan there is no such horror. Everyone there is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishnotta kirtana gana nartana parau. Whether a Goswami or a tiger or other ferocious animal, everyone's business is the same, to please Krishna. Even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everyone is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has a right to live. This is the Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, that is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think, whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness by sadhana. One can come to this platform. In the material world, one may collect funds all over the world in order to distribute food freely. Yet those to whom the food is given may not even feel appreciative. The value of Krishna consciousness, however, will gradually be very much appreciated. For instance, in an article about the temple of the Hare Krishna movement in Durban, South Africa, the Durban Post reported all the devotees here are very active in the service of Lord Krishna, and the results are obvious to see: happiness, good health, peace of mind, and the development of all good qualities. This is the nature of Vrindavan. Haro abhaktasya kuto mahad gunaha. Without Krishna consciousness, happiness is impossible. One may struggle, but one cannot have happiness. We are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities through God consciousness. Now, what is so significant about this purport? Prabhupada is talking about Vrindavan, and Vrindavan is characterized by this very unique thing where there is no hunger, no anger, and no thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. And then he is talking the difference between Vana and Vrindavana. Vana is forest. We are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods. But they have no enemy, no envy. This is the crux, for they have no envy. Similarly, the temples of Srila Prabhupada are like Vrindavan. But in the temple of Vrindavan, if somebody carries envy in the heart, that envy, when it comes, he gets disturbed, he disturbs the whole atmosphere. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together, and when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification. When our goal of life is not to serve Krishna and something else, when we come with that goal, then I see other person with some other eye. Arey, मेरे को बोला, मेरे को क्यों बोला ये? We don't feel submissive. We don't understand the purpose of why we are here, why this organization is created. This is the crux. Actually, it is Prabhupada is saying it doesn't come easily. Envy develops because of sense gratification. There is no other reason, and that envy leads to anger, leads to frustration. But in Vrindavan, there is no sense gratification, for the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. This is the difference. There are difficulties, there are challenges, there are problems, there are demons attacking, there are so many things. But their only, their goal, their whole objective of life is surrendering to Krishna. They are thinking how I can please Krishna. Well, Krishna will be pleased by this or not. If that goal is there, if that is the central goal of our life, then this place will become Vrindavan, and we can relish Krishna consciousness like anything. Envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. Actually, Prabhupada is writing, he's seeing this. Even in his organization, during his physical presence, there were challenges, there were difficulties, there were conflicts. And more so, it is always there. But one has to see in his heart when some agitation or disturbance or some kind of problems comes, why am I feeling agitated? If I am Krishna's servant, if my goal in life is to please him, to render devotional service, loving devotional service to him, I will not mind. Actually, the moment I'm getting a devotional service, I should do it full-heartedly, with attention. Not that I'll expect somebody else to do, I'll just come and show up, I'm a big guy. This is not devotional service. And there is envy inside. The reason why we have problem is because we have envy, lot of envy. And that envy creates this problem. That is why there is, Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro, it's not happening. Everyone is not happy. When the moment from the heart, this envy and malice are gone, then, it is like, Prabhupada is saying, calf is happy, cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy. Everyone is happy in Vrindavan. Because that consciousness they are carrying. If that consciousness we can imbibe, and how is it possible? Prabhupada is saying by a lot of sadhana. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness by sadhana. One can come to this platform. If we do that, the whole life, if we practice and remind ourselves of this, these are all pictures we need to see. In Vrindavan, imagine there is a tiger who's there is a cat which is there, they are happily living peacefully. We are all Vaishnavas, right? We are all coming here to serve Prabhupada. We are all coming here to please Krishna. But why should we have that kind of a feeling inside? I should look at someone and, hey, Tu kyun aaya idhar? That kind of a feeling coming means we are not even in Vrindavan consciousness. We should work together, we should remove that envy, we should develop those Vaishnava qualities. Haro abhaktasya kuto mahat guna. Doesn't matter who you are, you cannot develop any good qualities unless you are a devotee of the Lord. This verse is actually a summary of the entire Krishna consciousness. In nutshell, Prabhupada has given the crux of it. What is expected of us? When we get rid of this and we engage directly, properly, without any motivation, glorifying the Lord, engaging in His devotional service, we will feel satisfaction. That satisfaction comes in your face, in your action, in your words, everywhere it comes. Not that I'll feel agitated and disturbed and I'll come and charge and do some things. That's all material consciousness. We have time? Okay, I'll take just 2 minutes and with that we'll stop. Before I close, I love to, I would encourage all of you to also know this wonderful song which is composed by Bilvamangal Thakur, which I have sung some many times earlier. How the consciousness of, wait, it's not getting shared. How the consciousness of people in Vrindavan were so absorbed in Krishna. And that is the whole difference between Vrindavan, the Brajavasis and other people. Why Brajavasis are dear to the Lord? Because they carry the wealth of being absorbed in Krishna. That wealth of, that in the heart, they have got nothing else other than Krishna. That is why they are so dear to Krishna. Bikretu kama kilagopa kanya murari padar pita chitta vritti dadhyadikam mohavasadavocha Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Vikretu Kama. Actually, the Gopavadhus, the the cowherd women, what are they? How do we say? Gopis. The gopis have gone to sell this butter, curd, and all these things. Vikretu Kama, Kilagopa Kanya, Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti. But their chitta and vritti are absorbed, are attracted. Murari Padar Pita Chitta. Mind and consciousness is absorbed in this. Dadhyadikam moha vasad avocha. Though they want to speak about dahi lelo, butter lelo, moha, because of their absorptions, they are saying Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. There are series of things which are mentioned in this verse. Every stage of their activities, everything, like whatever, the child has to go to sleep, then the mothers are singing Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Yashodamai is binding Krishna, but even Krishna, out of fear, when Mother Yashoda is binding, Ruroda Mandam Navanita Bhoji. Actually, Krishna also is telling, he's not telling that, oh, Mother Yashoda, don't bind me. He's saying Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So this is how the consciousness of Brajavasis are fully absorbed in Krishna. If we can develop that mood, if we can do that, then, and we glorify Krishna to our abilities, whatever abilities we have, and we hear nicely, then like Narada Muni, who could see Krishna in his heart immediately, as if called for, the Lord manifests in his heart, the Lord will manifest in our heart. We can see the Lord in our heart. So singing or glorifying and absorbing our mind and understanding this Krishna consciousness, practicing it in our life, that is how we can make our life perfect. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. Sai.
Prabhu, in the last line in the purport, it is given, Narada Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. What does it mean, penetrating into the presence? Is it like feeling the presence of the Lord by chanting the glories?
You see, sometimes, people come, as I was giving the example, and talk in front of you. If you are not interested, you will be just oblivious to their presence. Suppose you are coming and you are talking to me something. You are talking something and I am not interested in seeing or knowing what you are talking. Then no matter how hard you say, whatever you say, it'll fall on deaf ears. But Narada Muni can penetrate the presence of the Lord. Narada Muni doesn't have to do any hard work. The moment Narada Muni sings, Pragayataha, what is that verse? Pragayataha Soviryani, Tirthapada Priyashrava, Ahuta iva me sighram. Moment he glorifies, the Lord appears. He could penetrate the presence of the Lord, means even if the Lord is doing something, still Lord, comes, appears in his heart. That is the meaning of that sentence. Yeah, not just chanting, even glorification of the Lord. Chanting also has 3 stages: Nama Paradha, Nama Bhas, and Suddha Nam. But you are chanting the same names. Common thing is you are not chanting something different in Suddha Nam. You are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra only. But the same Hare Krishna can reciprocate with you differently. In Nama Aparadha stage, it's just formality. We don't have any taste. We're just doing out of obligation. We are blind, oblivious to holy name. The holy name is Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Suddha Nitya Mukta Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. Nama Chintamani, it's a wish-fulfilling thing. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It is alive and it is filled with rasas. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Suddha. It's completely pure. Nitya Mukta Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. It can reciprocate, provided we have the right mood. We are doing it in the right way, free from offenses. Offenses are there and all those things are there, and it's all theoretical thing. Where is the taste for Nama? We may say there's no taste. Any other question?
So, Lord can be attracted, like it was mentioned in the purport, like he can be attracted only by the chanting of the pure devotee. So until and unless we become a pure devotee, we cannot attract the attention of the Lord.
True, but you really don't have to wait for becoming completely pure. Jamila chanted once Narayana, not that he was pure. The holy name itself is purifying. It's like suppose you are unclean and your body is very stinking. There is a lot of sweat and a lot of work you have done, and you come and you put a soap. You don't have to wait for you don't have to wash the soap for something that it is going to clean me now. What if somebody has used before and I'm going to use, will it act on me or not? It acts. It will clean the whole thing, dust. Moment we are chanting, we are cleaning ourselves. We are cleansing ourselves completely. Holy name can dissolve all these things. But the problem is our anarthas still don't go from our heart because we keep committing sinful activities. The tendency to do sins, or even we're not very strict about following the 4 regulative principles and the sadhana. So that is why we allow ourselves to come under the modes of material nature. And when the modes of material nature are acting on us, we act differently and the reactions also come. If we follow the words of our spiritual master 100%, whatever Prabhupada has told, chant 16 rounds attentively, minimum, follow the four regulative principles. We will. Nobody can stop. Nobody. In our own life, with incomplete surrender, inattentive chanting, we have seen so much of reciprocation. So much, each one of us. We don't have to ask somebody else, did it happen really? It happens in our lives. So if we do it properly, and if we develop somehow a taste and appetite for hearing and understanding, and the Lord manifests. Actually, it's all the feelings. Like, what is the soulful japa? Soulful japa is all about having the right feelings at the backdrop. Same chanting, but when you have those feelings, the japa becomes, it's no more a boring, dragging, that it is not like, it is a very powerful thing. Same holds true with here. When there is little attention and you're trying to understand what is mentioned in this, it's a purifying thing. Bhagavatam is just amazing. Madhav? Okay, if no other question, we will see the next verse is another beautiful verse. As I said, this is coming to a conclusion of the whole chapter. So these verses are like summary of the whole things that has happened. Glorification of the Lord is just amazing. So we'll stop here and see what Narada Muni has to say, how he concludes, and what Vyasadeva does in his life in the next pages of Bhagavatam. Thank you for joining. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.